Hello and welcome to News9 Live. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today created history by inaugurating the new Indian Parliament. It was a star-studded affair and the Prime Minister inaugurated the new Parliament, and the entire event was attended by various guests cutting across all party lines. To speak more on this, I'm joined by A Surya Prakash, Vice Chairman, Executive Council, Nehru Memorial Museum and Library. Sir, welcome to News9 Live.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Sir, you attended this inauguration of the new Parliament. What are your takes on that, sir? What is your take on that?
No, I did not attend the inauguration, but I have some things to say about this new Parliament House. The old Parliament House was inaugurated in 1927, nearly 100 years old. And over the years, in the last 20 years, there have been a lot of talk about the need for a new Parliament House, but nobody really took the initiative to do that. I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi at some point said this has to be done, and that's how this initiative came for building the new Parliament House. In fact, in Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, we built the Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya. And in the course of our conversations there with him, I remember one day he spoke about, we said, what is the problem in the past? He said the problem was Kalpana Daridrya, the poverty of imagination. So nobody is taking a decision. Everyone knows that the old Parliament House is inadequate. So that's how he took the decision, and then in a matter of 2.5 years, this is now ready, and it's a beautiful building, aesthetically and in every which way. It's remarkable what has been done. And so we have moved away from the era of Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker to Bimal Patel, our own architect, Indian architect, and he and the engineers have done a fantastic job.
So what do you have to say about the design? Because what we've been given to understand that it has all the motifs of, national animal, national bird. It's shaped in triangle, which is a geometrical this thing. So can you explain to us a bit more about, what all motifs are there in the new Parliament, and how, it is the way it has been constructed. It encapsulates the idea of the entire India as one.
Yes, I will say that the new Parliament House is some kind of a bridge between our civilizational experience and past and modern India. What had happened, in my view, this is my personal view, that of course, Lord Macaulay brought in the idea that there must be schools which will teach Indians English language and English mores and manners. That's what he said. And as a result, and also it was an effort to make us forget our own past. So there was a disconnect in a civilizational sense. Unfortunately, that persisted in the first many decades after independence. This is a phase in our national life when we are reconnecting with our civilizational great qualities that we had for millennia. For example, take the Rig Veda, which Pandits put at, say, 5,000, 6,000 years ago. It talks of Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, meaning the truth is one, but the wise perceive it differently. This, I say, is the very foundation of democracy. It accommodates diversity of views. And so, this is our parampara, this is our civilization for millennia. And then, starting with the Rig Veda, there have been democratic traditions in all across India. We had republics in several parts of India, and we had elected head of state, and so on and so forth. And then, after Lord Buddha, the Sanghas, they had very precise parliamentary rules governing their Sangha meetings and so on. And they had even proxy voting and voting with, they used wooden tablets to vote. And this is something remarkable democratic journey of India. But unfortunately, over the last 200 years of the colonial rule and thereafter in the Nehruvian era in India, we were made to forget our past and eulogize Britain and other democracies. I'm sorry to say that this is something that is most unfortunate which has happened in this country, and we need to correct that. Our children in schools need to know the democratic, secular traditions that were there in India in the past.
Yes, sir. So another googly, if I may use the term, was when Home Minister Amit Shah was addressing the press conference and he spoke about Singal and its historical, significance as far as transfer of power is concerned. And there was a lot of there is a lot of controversy going about it. Can you explain a bit about how significant this Singal is and why is there controversy about it?
Yes, that is a Chola tradition. And the Parmacharya of Kanchi had spoken about what happened on 14th August 1947 to his disciples, and that had been recorded by them. And also, this particular mutt near Tanjore, you see, which knows the Chola tradition, uh, they have all the written material and photographs and so on about that. So their story, what they say is that Mountbatten asked Nehru as to what is the ritual for transfer of power, because the British have a lot of rituals. Then Nehru asked Rajaji. Rajaji asked the Mutt people in Tanjore, and the Mutt said, you have to have a Sengol, and that is the way the power is transferred. And so get that made, and that was made, and the priests came from that Mutt to Delhi on 14th August by a special flight, and they went in a procession with Nadaswaram and all that, and then they presented this to Nehru. There are photographs of that and everything, and the whole episode is there in the Mutt in Tanjore. And also, this was related by the Parmacharya of Kanchi, and Mr. S. Gurumurthy had this recorded and wrote about it, and Miss Padma Subramaniam translated Gurumurthy ji's article into English, sent it to the Prime Minister, and a lot happened. In fact, I have with me Freedom at Midnight, which is written by Larry Collins and Dominic Lepper. And in fact, Dominic Lepper presented me a copy of this book in 1976. And I remember there was this reference to a procession of priests coming and carrying a scepter and handing it over to Nehru before Nehru went to Parliament House to deliver his Tryst with Destiny speech. I had read about it. I pulled it out the other day, and it's remarkable how Larry Collins and Dominic Lepper have narrated that. That is also there in a report in Time magazine and in local newspapers.
But sir, the Congress party, especially Jairam Ramesh and all, they completely debunked the whole thing, and they say that the BJP just woke up to the significance of Sengol. I mean, if they were so alert about the tradition and all, they could have gotten this much earlier. Why 9 months of this? And they say that that given the scientific tempo of the first Prime Minister, late Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, that is the reason it was put in the museum, and all the talk of that were disrespected and all is just not true.
The problem is that Nehru had a certain disdain for what he regards as Hindu traditions, but what I regard as Bharatiya traditions. For example, we light a lamp before we start a meeting or anything. That is a Bharatiya tradition. So, like that, there are so many other traditions which I regard as part of our civilizational experience, and that should not be confused with religion. It is not related to Hinduism. It is related to Bharat and our traditions over several millennia. Unfortunately, Nehru had a disdain for this, and so after he received the Sengol, he packed it off to Anand Bhavan in Allahabad, where it was for 4 or 5 years. After that, he gave certain artifacts, including this, to the Allahabad Museum, which was started by the municipality at that time, and so it was lying there, and they said they labeled it as a walking stick. It's ridiculous. Who will have a walking stick, a silver walking stick which is gold plated and 5 feet tall? This was ridiculous. Unfortunately, the whole Nehruvian phase, starting with Jawaharlal Nehru, there has been a certain contempt for what I regard as Bharatiya civilizational traditions. And that is most unfortunate. This is a phase in our national life when we need to recapture, reconnect with our past, which is very, very important for us as a nation.
Sir, this historic occasion was also marked by another controversy. The opposition, led by Congress, 19 opposition parties chose to boycott this movement. What do you have to say on that, sir?
First of all, I would not venture into the political arena. But I will say that this is a momentous occasion for the country, and I would have expected everyone to be there today. It is a momentous occasion. It's an extraordinary thing. It is actually, we say transfer of power 75 years ago. In a sense, in a constitutional sense, that was done. But mentally, as a nation, I think that transfer was sort of incomplete. These are all processes. This new Parliament House, which we have built, which is aesthetically simply extraordinary, which is designed by our own architects and built by our own engineers, this is what is very important in terms of that transfer that has to take place, and that should get completed now. This is a phase in our national life when that must happen.
Sir, can you
And
explain?
I would have expected everyone to be there.
If I may ask you, sir, because any interview would not be complete without it. Today is also the 140th birth anniversary of Veer Savarkar, and that was also one area of contention. Sorry for getting politics into it, but when you are discussing the whole issue, there are certain questions has to be asked. What do you have to say about that, sir? Because the Congress party and others said that the reason it was inaugurated today is that it coincides with the birthday, 140th birth anniversary of Veer Savarkar.
I anticipated this question, so I have something ready here for you. You know something? He was one of the greatest revolutionaries. Sawal hi nahi uthta. Sitting in London, he started a vigorous campaign for India's independence, so much so that the British punished him, convicted him for 50 years in jail and packed him off to Andamans. In Marseille, he jumped out of the ship. I mean, have you ever heard such an extraordinary feat by an Indian? And of course, they caught him again and then brought him here and put in Andamans for 11 years he was there. But more important, since some parties are talking ill of him, I will read out. This is Indira Gandhi. That is about Veer Savarkar. She says, Veer Savarkar's daring defense of British government has its own importance in annals of freedom movement. When he died, she said, he was a byword for daring and patriotism, a great figure of contemporary India. He was cast in the mold of a classic revolutionary, and countless people drew inspiration from him. This is Indira Gandhi. And then I'll come to Dr. S. Radhakrishna, who I regard as one of the greatest minds we had in this country, who was our president. Dr. Radhakrishna said, a steady and sturdy worker for the independence of our country. His career was a legendary one. This is what he says about Savarkar. And most important, since many people on the left of our politics have problems with Savarkar, I'm quoting Mr. Dange, who was a great communist leader in this country. Dange said, Savarkar's death removes from the scene of Indian history one of the great anti-imperialist revolutionaries. Indira Gandhi also donated 11,000 rupees to Savarkar Memorial Fund on 100th on his 100th
40th.
birth anniversary.
Okay. So today has been a historic day. How important is today's day in the history of independent India, sir? When you look at, from 1947 to 2023, how big a lesson it is also for the future generations to come?
As I said, this is a phase in our national life when we are reconnecting with our civilizational past. The inauguration of the new Parliament House is a very important, significant development in that regard. And I do believe that going along, that reconnection, the bridge, this Parliament House is that bridge. And with that, you will see many more bridges need to be built, and our future generations need to know more and more of our great democratic, secular, plural traditions of India over millennia. That is why India is a democracy. When someone says something about our democracy, I will say, what are you saying? The foundations of our democracy are in our civilization. That is why we are a democracy. That is why we are such a plural, liberal society. And today's event is symbolizes that, reinforces that. And we must become stronger as a democracy, and our plurality and democratic traditions must grow.
Sir,
That is my.
the Prime Minister also, one last question. The Prime Minister also spoke about, how people used to say that though you have become independent, your parliament still runs from a British building. Now that connect has been broken. Now, in independent India is being run in a parliament which is made in India. How do you view this particular statement of Prime Minister?
Yes, it's a very important statement. That is why I said, if you go back to Nehru's speech in the Constituent Assembly, he said the time has come to redeem our pledge. I will say, yes, this is the time to redeem our pledge, our civilizational pledge, and to connect with that past of ours, which got disconnected in the whole Nehruvian phase. We have to correct it. It's very important.
Thank you so much, A. Surya Prakash ji, for taking time and talking to News9 Live. This was A. Surya Prakash, Vice Chairman, Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, talking to News9 Live on the historic occasion of inauguration of India's new parliament. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.